are lots of things all around us, exciting things that surround us.
But how does it work?
Do you know?
How is it made?
Do you know? Things that go up, things that go down, things that go hop, things that go round, with special cameras to show you inside. It's going to be a big surprise.
But how does it work?
Do you know?
How is it made?
Do you know? Do you know?
Let's find out!
Hello, I'm Maddie, and today I've come to the cinema. I love watching movies, but there's one treat I like to have most when I'm watching a film. Can you guess what it is? Yes, it's popcorn, of course. Thank you. Do you like popcorn? But have you ever wondered how popcorn works? Why and how does it pop? Let's find out. How does it work?
Popcorn!
When we eat popcorn, it looks like this. Soft, white and fluffy. They look a bit like little clouds, don't they? But it starts out like this, as pieces of corn that we call kernels. But to turn this into popcorn, we need to cook it so that it gets hot. This is microwave popcorn, and inside the bag are lots of kernels of corn like the ones I've just shown you. And we're going to cook it inside the microwave. You might even cook popcorn like this at home.
Remember, you should always get a grown-up to help you use the microwave.
Nothing's happening yet, but that's because we need to wait for those kernels of corn to get really hot. It smells really good already though. Can you hear that? The corn has started to pop, turning it into popcorn. Popping has slowed down, but do you know what that means? It means the popcorn is nearly ready. It's ready! Let's have a look, shall we? Oh, it's steamy and hot and it smells incredible. Careful, make sure you get a grown-up to do this bit for you though, because it's very hot. And there they are, ready to eat. But what happens inside the bag? How does a small kernel of corn turn into a piece of popcorn like this?
Every kernel of corn has a hard shell on the outside and a soft layer of white stuff called starch on the inside. And inside the starch, there's a tiny droplet of water. When the corn is heated, the starch melts and the drop of water starts to expand, which means it gets bigger. Eventually, it gets so hot, it starts to turn into steam, like when water boils in the kettle. The steam builds up inside the kernel of corn and pushes against the hard shell. Eventually, it can't hold it anymore and the pressure bursts the shell with a pop. As it pops, the starch pours out and immediately cools into the soft white bit we see when we look at popcorn. Let's see it for real, shall we?
My special camera will show us how. Let's take a look.
Because I couldn't put my special camera in the microwave, I filmed this popcorn being cooked in a pan. It pops exactly the same way. Wow, there they go. See how high the corn jumps? It's very quick. Let's see it again in super slow motion. Can you see the kernels heating up? As the kernel of corn gets hotter and hotter, so does that little droplet of water inside. It grows bigger and bigger inside until it turns into steam and just has to burst out, pushing the white starch out with it. Amazing.
I loved seeing how popcorn works. What was your favourite bit?
Can you remember the name for a piece of corn before it turns into popcorn? That's right, it's a kernel. Did you hear the sound the corn made when it popped? It was loud, wasn't it? And did you see the popcorn popping in slow motion? It jumped really high.
Now, I've got my popcorn ready to snack on later, but first I need to make my dinner, and I'm going to have my favourite, pasta. Do you like pasta? I love all the different shapes and sizes, from small tubes to little shells. And of course, spaghetti. Pasta first came from Italy, but now you can buy it everywhere in the shops. You can buy fresh pasta, even dried pasta like this, or pasta sauces in jars. But what's in pasta and how is it made? Let's find out.
How is it made?
Pasta.
It all starts with a giant pasta making machine, and we're going to find out how dried pasta like this is made.
This is a pasta factory, and all these machines mean it's very noisy.
In this factory, pasta is made from 2 ingredients, water and something called semolina. This is semolina here. It looks like a yellow powder, but it's made from a type of wheat called durum wheat that grows in fields. It's also used to make some breakfast cereals. But when you mix water and semolina together, you get pasta. But we're going to need a lot more semolina than this. These huge tanks are full of semolina. Each one can hold about 150 tons worth. That's the same as about 150 cars. But how does all that semolina get from the tanks to inside the factory?
The semolina travels along this grey pipe and into the pasta making machine, where it will be mixed with water.
Water comes into the machine through this tank, and it's mixed with the semolina inside this silver tube. They're spun around together to make pasta dough.
Here it comes. This is what the mixture looks like.
This is the pasta dough, but at the moment it just looks like a pasta sausage. We want it to be a squiggly shape, and for that we need a special cutter. This metal disc is called a die, and the pasta dough is pushed through the die and all these little holes, and that's what gives the pasta its special squiggly shape.
Let's see what happens to the dough as it's pushed through the die.
Look at that! Can you see the golden pasta squiggling out of all the little holes in the die? It's like long blonde curly hair growing out of the machine. It looks really fun, but it's too long. That wouldn't fit on your plate for your dinner, would it? So we need to chop it into smaller bite-sized pieces. The cutter chops the pasta into the perfect sized pieces. And now they're tumbling down this slide, ready to go on to the next stage of the machine.
Look at all those cut pieces of pasta. The machine is bouncing them up and down to spread them out.
Let's use my special camera to get a closer look. The machine is bouncing the pasta and it's making the pasta look like it's wiggling like worms.
The pasta is now the right size and shape, but it's still not finished. To make it hard, like the dry pasta you get at the shop, it needs to be dried.
The soft pasta falls into the dryer up there and then it travels all the way through to come out the other end. Just look how enormous the dryer is. Let's see just how big the dryer is, shall we?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
It's 10 paces big. The pasta making machine is all controlled by a computer, and this shows us how the pasta is moving inside the dryer. It goes backwards and forwards along this blue line, and look, it's nearly ready to come out the other end.
After 4 hours in the dryer, the pasta is ready. It comes flying down this tube, which looks like a helter-skelter.
Look at that! That's amazing! Whoa! Can you hear the rattling noise? That's the sound of the dried pasta zooming down the helter-skelter into the bags below. It's going so quickly. I'd like to be a bit of pasta going down that. It would be really fun. The last stage is for the finished pasta to get packaged up and sent to food companies all over the UK. And that's a job for that robot. Inside each of these bags are hundreds of dried pasta shapes that look just like this. Do you know what this pasta shape is called? It's called macaroni. You might have even had macaroni and cheese for dinner. I loved seeing how pasta was made. Did you?
Do you remember the name of the special machine that pushes the pasta into shapes? That's right, it's a die. Did you hear the rattling sound of the dried pasta as it went zooming down the slide? And did you see the machine bouncing the pasta up and down? It looked like wiggly worms.
So the next time you have pasta for dinner, you'll know just how it's made. And when you have popcorn as a treat, you'll know how and why popcorn pops. See you next time. Hello, I'm Maddie, and today I'm getting ready for a party. What do you like to do at a party? I like to play games, like Pass the Parcel. I like to have a cake with candles. And I really like to blow bubbles. To make lots of bubbles, I've got a bubble machine. Can you hear the fan as it blows air into the bubbles? I love watching them float in the air and seeing how they pop. But do you know how a bubble is made or why it pops? How do bubbles work? Let's find out. How does it work?
Bubbles.
To make bubbles, you need 2 main ingredients. The first one is water, and the second one is soap, like washing up liquid that you use to clean the dishes with. I'm going to add a bit of soap to the water. Let's give this bubble mixture a try. Here we go. Ready? Can you see the way the bubbles come out of the wand? I think we should take a look at that with my special slow motion camera. Slow slow motion means that we can see things that happen really quickly much slower. So let's use it and see what it looks like when I blow air through the bubble mixture in the wand. Here goes.
Wow! Look how the bubble mixture stretches and then breaks off into a wobbly, round bubble.
Do you know what that round shape's called? That's right, it's called a sphere. Look at that lovely sphere-shaped bubble. But do you know how soap and water make bubbles and why bubbles are a round shape? To find out, I think we need to take an even closer look.
When we blow a bubble using bubble mixture, it makes a round shape made of bubble film. The bubble film has 3 layers. A thin layer of water sandwiched between 2 layers of soap. Inside the soap layers are millions of soap molecules. Each soap molecule has 2 parts, a head that likes water and a tail that doesn't like water. The heads of the soap molecules push towards the water, while the tails pull away from the water. The pulling and pushing makes the mixture stretchy enough to blow bubbles with. So when we blow air through the bubble wand, the mixture stretches out. At first it's wobbly, but because the soap molecules are pushing and pulling in every direction, the bubble quickly makes the tightest shape it can around the air inside, making a sphere-shaped bubble.
Bubbles are so interesting, aren't they? They're made because of the way water and soap work when they're put together. But to help us understand this, we need to know that water has something called surface tension. Can you see the top of the water just here? It almost looks like it's got a kind of skin on the top, doesn't it? And that's because every droplet of water is made up of millions of tiny water molecules. And those water molecules like to cling together really tightly. And it's because of the way they cling together that makes that skin. And that's what we call surface tension. I can show you surface tension if I use a paper clip just here. Paper clips are made of metal, so they're heavy. So you might think that a paper clip would sink if we put it in water. But can you see? The paper clip is floating. And that's because of all those water molecules that are clinging together really tightly, making surface tension, which is stopping the paper clip from sinking to the bottom. Now watch what happens when I put a little bit of soap onto the top of the water. Did you see the paper clip sink to the bottom? That's because of the way soap and water act when they're mixed together. All of those soap molecules work really hard to pull the water molecules apart, and that makes the mixture more stretchy. Stretchy enough for the paper clip to sink to the bottom.
But how does surface tension affect bubbles in the air?
Can you see that the bubbles pop as soon as I try to touch them? That's because when we touch a bubble with our dry hand, we break the bubble's surface tension. Our hands have a little bit of oil in them and that keeps them nice and soft, but soap loves oil. That's why we use it to clean dirty, oily dishes. So when a soap bubble lands on our oily hands, those soap molecules try to take the oil away, but this bursts the bubble. So what can I use to try and help me catch a bubble without it bursting? I'm going to use a glove. Now let's see what happens. Whoa! The glove is stopping the soapy bubble mixing with the oil on my hands, which means I can catch the bubble and even bounce it. Wow! I loved finding out how bubbles work. Did you? What was your favourite part?
Can you remember what it was that stopped the paperclip from sinking in the water? That's right, surface tension. Did you hear the sound the bubble machine made? And did you see the bubbles being blown in slow motion on my special camera?
So the next time you blow bubbles at a party, you'll know how the mixture works and how you can stop them from bursting so quickly. But you know what else I love at birthdays? Party food. What's your favourite type of party food? I think carrot sticks are delicious. And wobbly jelly is really funny. But most of all, for a special treat, I like to have chocolate. But do you know where chocolate comes from or how it's made? Let's find out.
How is it made?
Chocolate.
In this factory, they make lots of different types of chocolate. Like chocolate cars and chocolate bunnies. Whoa, look at all of these chocolate eggs. It's like a spinning chocolate tree. But did you know that chocolate actually comes from one of these? It's a cocoa pod, and it's a fruit that grows on a tree. Inside a cocoa pod, you get cocoa beans, and these can be ground down into a chocolatey paste. And if you mix that with some sugar, milk powder and cocoa butter, it makes a delicious chocolate mixture. The chocolate mixture arrives at the factory in huge tanker lorries like these.
It's pumped through a pipe into the factory. And once the chocolate mixture has arrived, it's time to make all the different fillings that go inside the chocolates.
They're all different flavours. What's your favourite flavour? I really like caramel and fudge. Shall we see how they're made?
This is where the fillings for the chocolates are made. And today, Gareth is making caramel.
The main ingredients in caramel are sugar, butter and cream, and they all go inside this giant mixing bowl. After a few minutes of mixing, the caramel looks like this. Look at the way the sticky caramel is oozing off the mixing blades. It smells delicious.
The caramel needs to be left to set for 2 days before it's ready. This is some fudge filling made yesterday, which is now ready to be turned into fudge chocolates.
Fudge is creamy, spongy, and has a lovely vanilla taste.
The fudge filling is put into a hopper and then dropped into a machine called an extruder, which cuts the fudge into the right size and shape.
Look, it's a diamond shape. This machine is so fast.
It cuts out 158,000 shapes every hour.
That's enough to give every person in 2 enormous football stadiums a chocolate each.
Now the fudge is ready for its chocolate coating.
It's like a chocolate curtain. This machine is called an enrober. All of the fudge shapes move along the conveyor belt and get smothered with a layer of chocolate. Next, the chocolates are given a quick shake to get rid of any extra chocolate so they're all covered evenly. And look at the way they wobble, isn't it funny? Can you do the chocolate wobble? Give it a go.
Any leftover chocolate is sent down pipes to be used again. Next, the fudge chocolates are cooled to make them go nice and hard, and then they're given a second layer of chocolate.
To finish the chocolates off with a bit of decoration, they're drizzled with a lighter chocolate. And this is called sprinkling. At the end of the production line, the chocolates go into trays, ready to be put in boxes. The chocolates are emptied from the trays and they're placed on a conveyor belt. And at the end, a robot picks up each chocolate and puts it in the right space in the box. Look, here are our fudge ones now. Can you see that red light shining down on the chocolates? That's a laser and it's scanning the chocolate so it knows what shape they are. It then sends a message through a computer to the robot so it
knows which chocolate to pick up and where to put it in the box. How clever is that? And it works so quickly that it's a little bit hard to see. So I'm going to use my special camera to get a better look.
This is my slow motion camera, so we can see the robots working much more clearly. Wow, look how carefully the robot arms pick up the right chocolates and put them in exactly the right holes.
And here we have some finished chocolates, ready to be put in a box and sent across the country for us to enjoy as a special treat. All that's left to do is give them a try. I loved seeing how chocolates were made. Did you? What was your favourite part?
Do you remember what the fruit is called that chocolate is made from? That's right, it's a cocoa pod. Did you hear the sound the enrober machine made as it gave the chocolates a good shake? And did you see the robot arms as they picked up the chocolates and put them in the boxes? They were so fast.
So the next time you eat some chocolate at a party or maybe for a treat, you'll know how it was made. And when you blow some bubbles, you'll know how they work. I'll see you next time. Hello, I'm Maddie, and I've just sat down to have my lunch. That was yummy. I really enjoyed it. And there's no food left on my plate. But what's happening to the food I've just eaten? My food is being digested, which means it's gone into my body where it's being broken down and turned into energy that will keep me strong and healthy. But what's going on inside our bodies when we digest food? How does digestion work? Let's find out.
How does it work?
Digestion.
All living things, like us, need food. Just like a car needs fuel to go, our bodies need food to work properly. Food is our fuel. Do you have a favourite food?
Maybe it's swirly spaghetti. Or a yummy chicken curry with rice.
It's important we eat lots of different types of food, and there are 5 main food groups. On the yellow are types of food that we call carbohydrates.
These include foods like pasta, rice. Oh, there's some bread.
They give us energy.
In the red area is the protein group.
What can you spot? Eggs, some meat, fish, nuts, beans and lentils. They're like the building blocks for our body that help us grow and repair ourselves.
The green section gives us vitamins, minerals and fibre. But what are they?
That's right, fruit and vegetables. And this is important because it helps us to fight infection like a cold or a flu. They keep us healthy.
The fourth group is dairy. Most dairy foods come from animal milk.
Here we've got cheese, yoghurt and cow's milk. But dairy foods give us an important mineral called calcium. And calcium helps to keep our teeth and bones strong and healthy.
You can also get calcium from milk made out of plants, like soya or almonds.
And on the purple, we have types of food called fats and sugars. It's important for us to have some fats because they help keep our bodies warm, they help us to use vitamins, and they keep our brains working properly. But there are 2 different types of fat.
Healthy fats, like nuts, seeds, and oily fish. And fats you should eat less of. They're in things like cake and chocolate, which also contain sugar.
Now for the fun part. We need the right amount of all 5 food groups to help our bodies work properly. We call it a balanced diet. It's easy to choose a balanced diet. We just need a plate.
Look, the plate is being split into different colours. Yellow is carbohydrate. Red is protein. Fruit and vegetables are green. Dairy is blue. And fats are purple. This is a balanced diet and shows us how much of each food group we should eat. So, what should I have for my balanced dinner?
I've got chicken for protein, rice for carbohydrates, carrots and beans for vegetables, with some yoghurt for dairy and banana for fruit.
Instead of chicken, I could also have some fish or beans for protein.
That all looked really tasty, didn't it? But what happens inside our bodies when we eat a balanced diet? To find out, I think we need to take a closer look.
When we put food in our mouths, we chew it. Glands, called salivary glands, create saliva, which make our food wetter and easier to swallow. As we swallow, the food goes down a pipe called the esophagus into the stomach. Inside the stomach, the food mixes with stomach acid and special chemicals our body makes called enzymes. Enzymes help break down the food into tiny pieces, which then move into the small intestine. The proteins, fats and carbohydrates are broken down, and the vitamins and energy from the food are taken in our blood from the small intestines to be used around our bodies. The food that our bodies can't use is moved along to the large intestine. The water is taken away, and the leftover waste is made into feces, which we call poo. And finally, when all the food is processed, a message is sent to the brain to tell us we need to go to the toilet.
That was really interesting, wasn't it? Our bodies use the nutrients from the 5 food groups in lots of different ways.
But it's our heart that pumps the energy from our digested food around the body in our blood. So, when I run around, the more I run, the faster my heart pumps the energy around my body.
Can you remember what food group gives us the energy? That's right, carbohydrates. Every time I jump up and down, I'm using my muscles and my bones. Can you remember which food group helps our bodies to grow and repair? That's right, proteins.
And don't forget fruit and vegetables that help keep us healthy.
It was so interesting finding out how digestion works. What was your favourite part?
Do you remember the food group that gives us lots of energy? That's right, it's carbohydrates. Can you remember what pumps energy around our body so we can play? Yes, it's our heart. And did you see all the yummy food laid out on my colourful food group table?
Because we've been using lots of energy, I think we can have a special treat. What's your favourite dessert? I like something that's fruity, crunchy and gooey all at the same time.
Fruit and meringue.
But how is a meringue crunchy on the outside and gooey in the middle? Do you know how a meringue is made? Let's find out.
How is it made?
Meringue!
To find out how meringue is made, I've come here to a meringue bakery. Here they make lots of different types of meringue in all sorts of shapes and sizes. Purple ones, big ones and small ones, and even meringue drizzled in chocolate. The main ingredient we need to make any meringue is these, eggs. Inside an egg there are 2 parts. A thick, clear, gooey liquid called the egg white, and a thick yellow part called the egg yolk. And the bit that we need to make meringue is the egg white.
The egg whites arrive at this factory already separated from the yolks, like this.
The next ingredient we need is sugar. And sugar comes in granules like this. But to make the perfect meringue, we need hot sugar.
The sugar is spread on these trays to be heated.
For our meringue mixture, we need 1, 2,
3, 4 trays of sugar, fresh from the sugar oven.
While the sugar is heating, we need to start work on the egg whites.
First, the right amount of egg white is weighed on these scales, and then it gets put into a huge mixing bowl. Inside the mixing bowl, the egg whites are being whipped by a whisk. You might have a mixer a bit like this at home, but here, the whisks are massive.
It's bigger than my head.
Egg whites are made of protein, and inside protein are thousands of tiny little strings called amino acids.
When the egg white is runny, the amino acids are curled up closely together. When they're whisked, the amino acids unfold and wrap around air bubbles which the whisk makes as it spins, making the mixture fluffy and ready for sugar to be added.
Whoa, can you hear that alarm? That means the hot sugar is ready to come out of the sugar oven and get added to the fluffy egg whites.
The sugar needs to be whisked into the egg white for 15 minutes.
But because the whisk moves so quickly, I'm going to film this with one of my special cameras. This camera films in slow motion, which means when we watch things back, we can see them happening more slowly.
Look, in slow motion, you can see the whisk whipping the solid crystals of sugar into the fluffy egg white.
And this makes the mixture lovely and glossy, thick and sticky.
Which means it's time to add some flavour.
What colour do you think the strawberry meringue mixture is going to be? That's right, red. Liam and Kaylee use big spoons to scoop out the mixture. Then they give it a swirl and push it onto a tray with a spatula.
They're really starting to look like meringues now, aren't they?
They make 18 meringues on a tray, and there are 16 trays on a rack. That's 288 meringues just here.
And if you stacked each meringue on top of each other, they'd be taller than Buckingham Palace.
These look fantastic and good enough to eat, but they're not quite finished yet. The meringue are wheeled into this huge oven where they're baked at low temperature for around 2 hours.
This is to stop the outside of the meringues from cracking and to make sure the inside stays lovely and gooey.
Inside the oven, the meringue is turned around like it's going for a ride on a carousel. This makes sure that they're baked evenly the whole way through so that we know the meringue is definitely cooked. They look tasty, don't they? Whoa! Crunchy on the outside and gooey in the middle. I loved finding out how meringue is made. What was your favourite bit?
Do you remember the name of the machine that mixed the egg white? That's right, it's called a whisk. Did you hear the sound of the oven's alarm when it was ready to take the sugar out? And did you see how glossy and thick the whisk made the egg whites and sugar on my special camera?
So the next time you see a meringue or have one as a special treat, you'll know how it was made. And now you know what happens to food when we digest it in our bodies. Right, I think it's time to tuck in. I'll see you next time. Hello, I'm Maddie. Today I've got some things I want to recycle, so I've come to the recycling bins. There are lots of things we can recycle, like these old plastic bottles, paper and cardboard, and glass.
glass jar that had jam in it. But what happens to glass when it's been put in the glass recycling? And how does an old jam jar get turned into something new? Do you know how glass recycling works? Let's find out. How does it work?
Glass recycling.
To find out how glass recycling works, I've come here to a gigantic glass recycling factory. Glass is collected from recycling bins by big lorries like this one here, and it's all dropped off here at the yard. Listen to all the glass falling out of the recycling lorry. In the yard, there are 3 huge storage bays. 1, 2, 3. And together, they can hold around 3,000 tons of glass. That's the same weight as 157 double-decker buses. The glass is picked up from the storage bays by big diggers. Amazing! The digger tips the glass into that giant bin. It's called a hopper. There it goes! The hopper is connected to a conveyor belt. Not everything that arrives at the glass recycling factory is glass. There are other things that get muddled up with the glass too, like metal, plastic, stone, dirt and rubbish. We call these things contaminants, and it's the job of the glass recycling factory to separate the contaminants from the glass. Let's find out how they do it. This is called a screen. Can you see it's made of lots of metal rods with gaps in between? And it works a bit like a sieve. When it jiggles around, all of the small pieces fall through onto a conveyor belt below. And the big bits keep on going down that chute. All of the big bits drop into this machine. It's called a crusher. And inside, everything is crushed, so it's the same size as the smaller pieces. All the glass and contaminants come back together. Can you see that some of the small pieces are bouncing around? This makes all the pieces move along to the next machine. This is called an extractor, and it works like a vacuum cleaner and sucks away any of those light contaminants. But it's pretty tricky to see, so I think we should film it with one of my special cameras. This camera films in slow motion, which means we can film something that happens quickly, but watch it back slowly. Whoa! And look! All of the light contaminants, like little pieces of plastic, are being sucked away, leaving the glass behind. The glass doesn't get sucked up by the extractor because it's heavier and it continues on its journey. Now the glass is almost clean of contaminants. There's just some little bits of stone, brick and ceramic. Things like kitchen plates and mugs to get rid of. This is an optical sorting machine, and it gets rid of stone, brick and ceramic using its own special camera. But to find out how it works, I think we need to take a closer look. Glass and contaminants move along a conveyor belt into the optical sorting machine. A light hits the conveyor belt so the camera can see the object. The camera takes a picture of the object and sends it to a computer. The computer can tell the size and colour of the object and whether it's glass. When the computer finds a contaminant, like stone, it sends a signal to an air jet inside the machine to blast it away. Now all that's left is the glass. Another optical sorting machine separates the glass into different colours. First, the computer looks for green glass, then sends a message to the air jets to blast it into the green bin. Once the green glass is gone, another optical sorting machine finds clear glass, called blue, and blasts it into the clear bin, leaving just the brown glass, called amber.
Wow, that was so interesting. Here's all the green glass that's been separated. It's like a waterfall.
Look, there's all the amber glass. And the clear glass too. It's called flint.
Now the glass has been cleaned and sorted, it's ready to be used again and made into something new, like a jam jar. I loved finding out about how glass recycling works. What was your favourite part?
Do you remember the name of the machine that uses light to find things that aren't glass? That's right, it's called an optical sorting machine. Did you hear the sound of the glass as it was tipped out of the big recycling line? Did you see how the extractor sucked all the light contaminants off the conveyor belt on a special camera? We use recycled glass in lots of different ways to make lots of different things, like glass jars. You can store lots in a glass jar, like honey, pickles, cookies, or as a special treat, you might have jam. Jam comes in lots of different flavours. Do you have a favourite? Mine is strawberry. Strawberry jam is made from strawberries. But how do strawberries or other fruit like blackberries or raspberries get turned into a thick jam you can spread on toast? Do you know how jam's made? Let's find out. How is it made?
Jam.
To find out how jam's made, I've come here to a jam factory. Today, they're making raspberry jam. Yum. Today, we're making one batch of raspberry jam, and that's about 160 jars, so we're going to need a lot of raspberries.
To make the jam, we also need sugar and lots of lemons. This is James, and it's his job to make the jam. James starts by weighing the lemons.
After the lemons are weighed, they're cut in half and squeezed to get all of the juice out, and I've been given special permission to help. So let's have a go at using this juicer. Thank you. Right, ready? Wow! The machine spins round and round, and look, can you see all of the juice flowing out of the spout here at the bottom? Lemons are really sour, and that's because they have something in them called citric acid. And it's the citric acid that gives them the sour taste. And nothing is wasted because we're going to use the lemon peel too.
Next, James weighs out the raspberries. Here, they use frozen raspberries. He also weighs out the sugar.
And now it's the fun part. We're going to heat everything up inside this, a boiling pan. Looks like a giant cake mixer, doesn't it?
At the moment, the boiling pan is switched off. First, into the boiling pan goes the raspberries.
That's a great splattering sound, isn't it?
Next, the lemon juice and the lemon peel.
The lemon peel is really important because it's got something special in it called pectin. And when pectin heats up and mixes with the water from the frozen raspberries and the citric acid from the lemon juice, it acts a bit like a fishing net or a web, helping to catch the other ingredients. And it's what makes the mixture thick and sticky. It takes about 15 minutes for the jam to cook, so I've set up one of my special cameras to film everything. That way, we can watch it back and speed everything up. Now, you should never go close to a hot pan, but I've got special permission to show you what happens to our jam.
Can you see the ingredients spinning round and round and mixing together? Now the sugar is added. And look, the jam is starting to cook. The boiling pan heats the ingredients to 100 degrees. That's really, really hot.
The jam mixture still looks watery and runny, doesn't it? So how does it get thick and gooey like jam?
Well, the water inside the jam mixture is heated up by the boiling pan and it turns into water vapour or steam. We call this evaporation. The water is evaporating and the steam is misting up our camera. As the water evaporates, the jam starts to get thicker. All there is to do now is take out the lemon peel. The jam's nearly ready, but to test to find out if it's thick enough, I've got to do something called the plate test. So there's a blob of jam on the plate and it's cooled down. And if it's the right thickness, it should make little lines called wrinkles when I push it. Should we find out? Okay, let's see. And there you go, lots of little wrinkles. So this is ready. Do you know what's making those wrinkles? It's the special chemical we find in the lemon peel called pectin. The jam is ready, so it's time to put it into jam jars. The jam is poured into here. It's called a hopper. The hopper is cone-shaped, so the jam will go to the bottom and then flow through the tubes to this machine called a depositor, and its job is to fill the jam jars. And just the right amount comes out each time to fill one jar. The lids are put on the jam jars when the jam and the air around the jam is still hot. But as everything cools down, it shrinks, and that leaves space inside the jar. So when we undo the lid, air can rush in, and this makes the jam jar pop up, and it sounds great. Listen to this. That sounds really good, doesn't it? I loved finding out how raspberry jam's made. What was your favourite bit? Do you remember the name of the special chemical that makes the jam thick? That's right, it's called pectin. Did you hear the sound the raspberries made as they tipped into the boiling pan? And did you see the ingredients being mixed together on my special camera? So the next time you have jam as a special treat, you'll know how it's made. And when you see a glass jar, you'll know how lots and lots of glass has been recycled to make it. I'll see you next time.